RMJ Movie Reviews back again with a movie review of, and I'm so sorry that this took so long, guys. Look, I'm doing the best I can. There's a lot going on. But of John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13. Wow. You know, those of you who've been subscribed to me since the beginning, and those of y'all who hear me rant and rave about how I'm an 80s baby and all that stuff, know that John Carpenter is my favorite film director. There's two, John Carpenter and John Singleton. Look, I understand people debatable choices, but I have the right to like whatever I like. John Carpenter has always been my #1 favorite movie director. He's not the best, but he's the one who resonates with me the most. This film is great. And what I love about, I think this was John Carpenter's second major motion picture, I think. Or it could be his first. Don't quote me. I should know since he's my favorite director, but I don't. But anyway, I love this movie. And this movie, I believe, is from 76. I think this is from 1976. But what I love about these films from the 70s and throughout the 80s, there is such, and I know I hear filmmakers like Rob Zombie. Rob Zombie hates, well, I don't know if he'll use the word hate, but he thinks the 80s kind of ruins cinema a little bit. With, you know, I don't know. But in my personal opinion, as a viewer, who watched 70s films when I was a really little young kid in the 80s, I love the purity of 70s and 80s films. Regardless, 80s films might be, you know, franchise and money and all that, but they're pure in what they are. They're pure in what they are. You know, and what I love even more about 70s films is that 70s films just said, the hell with what the marketplace wants. We're going to do what we want to do. And this is prime example of low budget, just creativity, simplistic writing. Actually, everything in this film is as simplistic as it gets. The way it's shot, the writing, even the musical score, the special effects, the setting. It's all very linear and simple. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing in this case. This shows how if you have the talent and you really dedicate yourself to whatever your vision is, you can present it with very, very little. And that's what I love about this movie. John Carpenter has always been talented at the fact that he can make his point so minimalistically and so simply. Assault on Precinct tells the story of an abandoned police station that's about to be closed down. This busload of prisoners have to go there for a really ludicrous reason, and I do mean ludicrous, but this film is ludicrous, but that's okay. It's a low-budget movie. And the abandoned police station and all the inhabitants are assaulted by this gang called the Cholo, who will do anything. They're basically like suicide bomber terrorist type of people, because they'll do whatever they got to do to kill anybody and everybody, even if they lose their own life. That's Assault on Precinct 13, John Carpenter's version. And it's just, and what I really love too is, and I want to keep in mind, people who are not film lovers and maybe even kids who were to see the movie now, this would be far too slow, far too low budget, far too cheesy for them to even consume. I'm a lover of all types of films, and I love film. I love movies. I love the experience. So for me, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Obviously, this movie came out before I was born, because I was born in '81. I actually saw this film back, it was around the time I had just graduated high school, so around 2000. Encore, cable network, way before streaming, kids, had been running each month. They had been running like all these directors like William Friedkin and a bunch of other people. And they ran all these John Carpenter movies, Halloween, The Thing, I think Prince of Darkness. And they had showed Assault on Precinct 13. I had seen snippets of it on regular TV when I was a kid in the 80s, on the television, 3, 5, 8. like on one of the Channel 43 afternoon movie or something. But this is the first time I'd ever watched it all the way through, and I just love this film. I love this film so much. Let's start with the characters. I love the character played by Darwin Johnson and Austin Stoker. Austin Stoker, who they really are the typical John Carpenter types, who are like really just men who their purpose is to go with what they believe in, whatever their morals are, whatever their code is, they go with that. Napoleon Wilson, Darwin Johnson is essentially Snake Plissken, you know, or Charles Bronson, or Lee Majors, or any one of those stoic cowboy, John Wayne type of characters, you know what I mean? Richard Roundtree and Shaft, Superfly, you know, all those type of just men who have a certain code. They may not operate on the right side of the law, but they're fair people where it's just like, hey, look, if you treat me right, I treat you right, and I got your back. Hey, I may steal a little bit of money, but, you know, if somebody is doing you damage, it's code in me as a man and as a human being that I can't let that go down like that. And that's the one thing about Austin Stoker's character, who is the cop who's kind of just basically he's just watching. He's a night manager job watching over this precinct that's about to be shut down. And he has the same thing too for Austin Stoker's, Darwin Johnson's character. It's a mutual respect. He's a cop. He's a criminal, but they combine together to say, hey, look, you may be bad, but what's going on out here is a lot worse. So look, I treated you right, and their code and their bond is solidified when Napoleon Wilson asks Bishop for a smoke. He goes, all right, I got you, man. Bishop goes, all right, I get you one. See, that's where the mutual respect begins, right there. See, he asked him for something, and he was decent enough to say, all right, man, hey, I got you. No problem. That right there. And see, that goes back to the simplistic filmmaking. See, you ain't got to have, you don't have to have all these Samuel L. Jackson, those shall write down on you with furious vengeance type of monologue. You can say something simple like that, and that solidifies their bond. That's all you got to do. You don't have to do all that other stuff. Simple. John Carpenter is very good at that with his writing. And he very much emulates a lot of that 70s style of usually using your looks. Characters register a lot with their facial expressions. You just let the camera read them. You don't have to say, oh, I'm sorry, he's dead. Heck, you could just look at a dead body and go, that's messed up. You know what I mean? You don't have to talk too much. You know, that's solidified. All the characters have these type of bonds. You've got the cheesy, cowboyish one-liners. You know, Napoleon Wilson always says you gotta smoke. He's even got a crazy name, Napoleon Wilson. How crazy is that? It's cartoony, but it's cool. You know, Tony Burton from the Rocky series, Duke. You know, Apollo's trainer. Always been a great actor. He just passed away, I believe, last year or the year before. I really do miss him. He's a very strong actor. I really love Tony Burton. I've loved him in everything I've ever seen him in. He's a great actor. You know, of course, this is the case where the black guy does die, which kind of sucks. But in this movie, it's funny. It's foreshadowed. It's really well done. And all the characters are very strong characters, in whatever their personal code is. You know, they all have their own personal code, but they combine together to fight the outside evil. That's what's great. The villains in this picture are very much similar to Michael Myers. You know what I mean? You have a faceless crew of these gang members. And you know, basically a father, these gang members are on a roll. They're on a bloodthirsty rampage, just killing people. One thing I will say about 70s filmmaking, there's a lot of stuff in this film you wouldn't be able to get away with now. You would not be able to get away with the brutal murder of a child on screen. In this case, a very young girl getting an ice cream cone who gets shot in the chest by Frank Doubleday from Escape from New York, the Duke's right-hand man. You wouldn't be able to get away with that now. That scene, I am not a father yet in my personal life, so I have mixed feelings about it. As a low-budget film, it's funny. Like, it's hilarious. I mean, the way it looks, it just looks funny. As a man who's getting older in life and, you know, being able to look at things morally, it's pretty horrific and pretty awful. It's pretty awful. The thing that gets you through the scene is the fact that it's a very low budget movie, and again, it kind of looks funny because you can see the effect. But you take away that it's quite horrific and awful, and these guys are pure psychopathic. And they're on a bloodthirsty rampage. There's a scene along with the killing of the child. You couldn't get away with a rifle coming out of a car window with the bullseye pointing at a woman with her grocery bag and basically getting ready to shoot some people because, you know, the horror of that is so real and prevalent nowadays with the DC sniper and all that other crazy stuff. It's a little bit too real now. So it makes it a little bit chilling. But that establishes these villains of what they are. And it just pretty much sets up that all bets are off. If one of these guys gets a hold of you, it's a done deal. You know, there's not a big description of them. And see, that's what I'm saying about simplicity. That act tells you enough of what these guys are all about. So the threat is very real, that if they get into that police station, to all of them, you can only imagine what's going to happen if they do that to a small child. So it really establishes the threat that you don't want one of these cats coming after you. And again, that death is enough impact to make the threat really real and the stakes go up. Basically that establishes that the good guys, you're with the good guys because, you know, they got to do what they got to do. So if you see one of these dudes get blasted, you're like, yay! Good audience manipulation there. The movie comes at a very slow pace, lots of wide camera angles. John Carpenter even does say in the commentary that maybe the pace could be up a little bit, and I'd agree with that. But again, it's very fun to watch. You know, I really had a great time watching the film. John Carpenter again uses a very simplistic score. You know, just like he always does, a very simplistic score. On a keyboard, you know. I'm sorry, guys, but the score is very simplistic, and you know, it just gives it enough of a gritty feeling. Anything could happen, dangerous kind of feel to it, that it makes everything feel very real and very on the edge. You don't know what's going to happen next. And of course, there's a lot of cheesy things in it because it's very low budget. You can kind of see that the sets aren't very well. There's scenes where characters close doors and you can see the entire wall move, or certain special effects don't work. You do have, like Fight Club says, the cigarette burns that pop up on the movie. That I love. I love that in older films. And also the ending where they eliminate the threat is absolutely ludicrous. It's so ludicrous. It's so absurd, but it's fun. You know, and many of the staples of this movie you've seen in all of John Carpenter's movies. So, I just love this movie. I love this movie. It is so much fun to watch. So much fun to watch. So, that's my review of Assault on Precinct 13. I really, for John Carpenter fans who might not have seen it, which I doubt any of you have not seen it, go check it out. And for those of you who might be younger, who are brave enough to watch a 70s movie and don't mind a slower pace and really low budget filmmaking, give it a shot. It is a fantastic movie. I love this movie. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video. Don't forget to hit the little bell, subscribe, and leave comments down below about John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13. I'm going to be coming up I'm gonna be posting my Halloween fan movie that I made back in 1995 when I was a little kid with my homemade VHS camera. I'm gonna come back with my remake review of Assault on Precinct 13, and I'm gonna be reviewing the entire Halloween franchise leading all the way up to Halloween 2018, reestablished, reboot, whatever the movie is called. And I will be starting with my review of Rob Zombie's Halloween. RMJ Movie Reviews. I will see you all soon.